Welcome everybody, Doug Schakel here. We've got a good session for you tonight here on YouTube. We're going to take a look at how to get out of a shooting slump. If you're a player that's in a shooting slump, or if you're a coach who has a player in a shooting slump, or maybe you're just somebody who's interested in the process, I'm going to show you tonight how to get out of a shooting slump, and maybe more importantly, how to stay out of a shooting slump. It's a never-fail method. I've used it for, over 35 years in our summer camps at Mesa State, and I used to make an agreement with the campers and the coaches during the summer. And what I said is that if you find yourself in a shooting slump during the winter, you give me a call. You have a pen and paper ready by the phone, and I will talk you out of a shooting slump, and it'll take about 20 minutes. And I usually get about maybe, let's say, a dozen a year that do that, and we have never ever failed to take a kid out of a shooting slump. And in, I would say, 80% of the cases, kids go on to have the best shooting night they've had all year in the very next game. So let's take a look at what causes a slump. It starts with an off shooting day, and that off shooting day probably is because there's a lack of focus or concentration, or lack of energy, or both of those things as far as that goes. Some of the things that could bring that on would be, maybe lack of sleep, stayed up till 3 in the morning working on a term paper or whatever it is, or maybe just plain tired from just being overscheduled, just so much on a kid's plate. Maybe they skipped a meal. Maybe they had an argument with a friend or a family member. Maybe they had a test score surprise, thought they got an A on a test and found out they failed the test. Maybe it's just Monday practice, and the energy level maybe on a Monday is not going to be quite what it is on a Friday night come game time. Maybe it's a jealous teammate, or a teammate's made a comment to them about they're shooting too much, or they need to shoot better, kind of putting some pressure on them, that type of thing. And it could come from an improper or rushed shot warm-up. So those are some examples of things that could cause a kid to have an off shooting day. And by itself, not that big a deal necessarily, but if that gets in his head a little bit, maybe he's a little skittish and comes into practice the next day thinking about yesterday's shooting, and the next thing you know, that thing snowballs, and now it's a week, and then it's 2 weeks, and then next thing you know, it's a month. And so then we, as coaches, we turn to the methods that we've heard about, to help kids get out of a shooting slump, and there's a couple of universal approaches. I don't think either one of them are very good. Now, this is my opinion, and hopefully maybe I'll challenge your thinking a little bit if you're an established coach on exactly how this goes, so bear with me. But the first one is a mechanical approach. The kid comes to you and says, "Hey, Coach, I'm not shooting the ball well. Can you come and take a look at me?" And so you do. You go and you watch them, and you go look from the side and the other side and the front and the back, and truthfully, you can't see any difference between how the kid's shooting now and the way he was last week and the way he's shooting right now. You can't tell the difference, and more than likely there isn't any difference, right? And so the second method is the one, and this is one of my pet peeves in coaching, is the one where we tell a kid to just keep shooting the ball. Just keep shooting, you're okay, you'll figure this out. Well, the deal is, if he could figure it out, he would have done that already, and he'd be out of a shooting slump. So we've just kind of thrown the kid to the wolves here, and we really haven't done much to help him in either situation. Now, I want to also talk to you about what I would, this is kind of like, in this search, it's like coming to a fork in the road. And that way is the mechanical way. And in there, we're going to get into analysis of the shot and all that kind of stuff. But the deeper we go, the deeper we get mired into that shooting slump. It just doesn't work. The real solution is down this fork, and I'll talk about it here in just a moment. Or, we could just stay right here and just keep shooting. So I want to share an experience that really shaped my philosophy as far as shooting slumps are concerned. In my very first year of coaching, I got lucky. I was at a small high school, Solon High School in Iowa, near Iowa City, and I'm 22, 23 years old, whatever it is, and I get a kid, does just what I said a moment ago. He comes to me, he says, "Coach Schakel, wow, I'm not shooting the ball really well. Can you help me?" Well, I don't have a clue. I have no idea whatsoever, but I'm the coach, so I'm supposed to have the solution. All right, so let's go take a look at your shot. So I'm looking again, front, side, back, whatever, and I can't see a thing. And I'm just, I'm sitting here and I'm getting real nervous because it's like this kid has turned to me. I'm his lifeline, and I'm going to let him down. So I said something to him. I think if you would move your little finger on your shooting hand a 1/4 of an inch wider, just 1/4 of an inch. Let's try that. Well, the kid shot the ball and he made it. And he shot it again and he made it, and he shot it again and he made it. He goes, "Coach, that was it. Thanks a lot." And he was out of his slump. But that wasn't the fix. That wasn't the fix. That wasn't it. That was I pulled something out of the air. That was, that's not what caused him to get out of the shooting slump. And that's when I had my aha moment, and I realized that, hey, this is not mechanical. It wasn't a mechanical deal. It's psychological. And so I want to talk about that. We're going to get into that now a little bit. And again, you talked about coming to that fork in the road, and you're right here. I call this the shooting spectrum, and there's the fork. We go in this direction where we're going to be, taking the mechanical approach. And when we do that, we really get into thinking. We get into analysis, and it causes, we've all heard the phrase paralysis from analysis. Well, there it is right there, and it really happens in a shooting slump when we get into a mechanical approach. We can go the other direction over here to the mental approach, and we get into feel. And at this end, here's where you want to be. You want to be on the feel end, because when you're feeling it, and you'll hear a kid say that, or somebody will say, "Wow, he's really feeling it," or "He's unconscious," or "He's in the zone." And there's no mechanics involved whatsoever, but that's where you're really getting the job done. So how do we turn this shooting slump around? Well, we start off with, the first thing we want to do is we create expectations. I really believe in doing that. We're going to set the stage for a successful session with a kid, and you do that, like I told you earlier, in my camp I tell kids that, hey, I take people out of slumps all the time. I've never missed. 80% of the kids go on to have their best shooting night of the year, blah, blah, blah. And so right away, they're coming to me and I'm thinking, wow, this is going to be a good deal. Well, if you don't have that experience, that I have, but if you pay attention as we continue on in this video, and if you look at our companion video, the secret to shooting your best every day, if you get the information down, those two videos down pretty good, you can help a lot of kids. So anyway, when we get into this thinking and analyzing, what happens is it interferes with the muscle memory reflex. It interferes with the muscles, doesn't let them do their job. And what I'm talking about is muscle memory. I mean, I shoot and I shoot and I shoot and I shoot for several years, and I create this, I don't know if I'll use the right term or not, but I'm going to use a neural pathway. It's kind of like learning to tie your shoes. Right now, if I said, "Don't take your eyes off of me," I want you to start reciting the alphabet while your eyes are on me, and I want you to tie and untie your shoestrings repeatedly until I tell you to stop. So it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, eyes on coach, and you're untying and retying. Well, that untying and retying is an example of muscle memory reflex. It's just you've done so much you can do it automatically. All right. So, but we just tend to do these things that interfere with the jobs of these muscles. Let me give you two quick examples of what I'm talking about that'll kind of magnify my point here. Scenario number one: we're at my summer camp, and we just finished the session. You come up to me and I say, "Hey, coach, I need some help. I got to go get I'm expecting a phone call. I've got a list of 5 things right here on a little piece of paper. I want you to pick up those towels over there, close that door over there. If you can take those basketballs and pack them up, move that ladder from there over to there, and whatever else is on that list. And if you do that, come in, I'll give you $10. And so I give you the list. You happily go about doing your jobs. You come and see me in about 10 minutes. I give you $10, and everybody's happy. Scenario number 2. Again, it's the end of the session. You come up to me and I say, "Hey, coach, I need some help." Okay? And I grab you by the elbow. And I say, "I need some help." And I'll pay $10 to do this. But I grab you by the elbow and I start walking you toward those towels. Okay, and I take about 2 or 3 steps, and I say, "What I need you to do, we're going to go over and these towels are going to," but you know what? And then I jerk you in that direction. I say, "But we really need to go over here first and get that ladder." I get about 3 steps, and I jerk you back in this direction. But truthfully, we need to get the basketballs, and then boom, I jerk you in another direction. All right? Now, it's pretty easy to see that scenario number 1 would be one that you'd much prefer to work in than scenario number 2. Well, in scenario number 1, I just let you do your job. Okay? And so I trusted you. And that's what we have to do. So what we've been doing with our muscles when we start giving us all this analysis and everything else is that we are mentally jerking our muscles around. And it just creates all kinds of bad results. So the muscles know what to do. If we'll just let them do their job, we'll just trust them, they'll do their job. Okay? But unfortunately, and pardon this reference I'm going to make here, but the muscles are kind of like slaves. A slave has to do what a slave is told to do, even though the slave may know a better way. All right? And it's the same thing with your muscles. So if we'll leave them alone, we'll have an opportunity to get a whole lot better response and a whole lot better job done when it comes to shooting the basketball. So how do we do that? How do we stop mentally jerking those muscles around? All right, so here's the deal. I call it the rule. And here's the rule. No emotional reaction permitted to miss shots. That's the rule. No emotional reaction permitted on missed shots. And that means no negative gestures. I don't want any grimaces. I don't want any body language. I don't want any negative comments or foul language or anything else. All right? But that's easier said than done. That's kind of like if I said to you right now, okay, don't think about black cows, or don't hit your golf ball in the lake. Well, don't is not a picture, and we think in pictures, and so all we hear is hit the ball in the lake. Or we hear, I say, don't think about black cows. We take the word don't out and we hear think about black cows. All right, so it's the same thing here. So I'm going to give you some techniques, some mental techniques to allow you to, number one, we'll have teach you how to have a neutral response to a missed shot, and we'll teach you how to have a real positive response to made shots. All right, so let's take a look at those two mental techniques that I just mentioned. First one is transference of failure. And what we're doing here is we're going to produce a neutral response for the shooter instead of a negative response. You know, kids are kind of funny about their shots and how they feel about them. It's kind of like, my missed shot, war in the Middle East, heart attack, cancer, war and poverty, death in the family, and my missed shot. And they're all right up there of equal importance. Well, they're not, and sometimes we need to talk about a little bit of a reordering of priorities here. But anyway, that's kind of how kids feel about that. All right, so this process of transference, I call it the mental delete button. And and when I talk to a kid, I tell them this. I said, when we get on the floor, I said, you're never going to miss another shot again, by the way, ever going to miss another shot rest of your life. And they look at me like I'm crazy, and I said, let me explain. All right, so again, the process is called transference. And here's how it works. Let's look at the other end of the gym right now. And down there, we are watching a stranger, complete stranger, don't know him from the man on the moon. We're watching that person shoot. And they make some shots and they miss some shots, make and miss. Now you tell me, do you really care? Do you really care if that stranger, a complete stranger, makes or misses any of that player's shots? And of course, the response always is no. Now, maybe if it was, your best friend, you might have a different, an emotional attachment to it. Now it changes, but you don't. And so your response, you're not getting excited about when the stranger makes a shot. You don't feel down when the stranger misses a shot. So you have a neutral reaction. You have no reaction at all. You don't care. All right. That is the attitude that you're now going to adopt whenever you happen to miss a shot. Okay. Remember, the rule is no emotional reaction to missed shots. All right. So how do you do it? You adopt a neutral response. But I want to help you a little bit on how to actually accomplish this. Now, by the way, what this means is you're not going to own misses anymore. You're not going to own them. You're not going to make them so important, and you're just not going to own them. They didn't happen. Okay? You're not going to be an irresponsible shooter. You're not going to throw shots up from half court and everything and go, I don't own that anymore. I don't have to worry about that. So here's what's going to happen. Anytime if you happen to miss a shot, your response is going to be in a neutral voice, in a neutral frame of mind, that's not like me. That's it. You shoot a ball, and if it happens to miss, you simply respond out loud, initially with me. Later on, you'll just say it in your mind, but you're going to say it out loud with me. You're just going to say, that's not like me, in a neutral voice. The longer version of that actually would be, that's not like me. In fact, it's not me. It's the stranger. And when the stranger misses, I don't care. So I don't care. Well, you don't have time to shoot a ball, and if it happens to miss, to go through that long version. So we just simply go right with, the very beginning of it, and that is, if I happen to miss a shot, that's not like me. Neutral voice, neutral response to it. All right? Now, the flip side of this is that we do want to anchor successes in a positive way. And I got this idea from Stan Kellner. Some of you may know him from some of his work in basketball cybernetics. And so what's going to happen here is that when we make a shot, you're going to say, that's like me. And you can say it with, if you want to, say it with a little bit of emotion. You're happy about that. Hey, that's like me. Okay? So we're going to anchor successes, all right? And we are going to delete, we are going to have a neutral response to the misses. All right? So again, I miss a shot. If I happen to miss a shot, that's not like me. Neutral. Make a shot, that's like me. Stan also had one response where he talked about when we make a shot, the kid simply just goes, yes! You know, a little bit of emotion. And again, they're not going to do this out loud when they're out playing a game or in practice or anything. But they're going to say it inside their head. But when we start on the floor, we're going to have the kids say this stuff out loud. All right, so let's talk about finishing up this process and taking this whole thing to the basketball floor. All right, so we've been through the methods and techniques that are involved in helping this kid get out of a shooting slump. So now we're walking into the gym, all right? And here's what I'm going to do with that kid. We've just walked into the gym, and probably the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to sit down for a second. And I'm going to talk to him about how that slump got started, you know, because of lack of focus or lack of energy or both, produced by a bad night's sleep, didn't get a meal, got a bad score on a test, had an argument with a family member, etc. Then the second thing I'll talk to him about is that, and tell him that it's non-mechanical. There's nothing to fix in his shot. Okay, and when you start going into a mechanical thing, then you're going to get into thinking, and you don't want to be a thinker. You want to be a player. You want to feel it. Now, I want to mention here also about this why I think I'm convinced it's not a mechanical issue, because in the last 25 or plus years, I've taken about a dozen kids a year. I've taken about a dozen kids out of a shooting slump over the phone. I've never seen any one of their shots, and we have never missed in getting that kid out of a shooting slump. So that's why I'm convinced it's psychological, it's a mental situation, and it is not mechanical. All right, so the next thing I'll do, the third thing I'm going to do with this kid is we'll talk about those 2 camp scenarios where I had this little list of jobs, and in one of them I gave him a list, gave you a list of things, and you went around and did them. I gave you $10, and that was the second scenario. I grab you by the elbow, and I'll do this with a kid. I'll take him by the elbow, and I'll jerk him toward those towels, and I'll jerk him toward that ladder, and then I'll jerk him toward the basketball and back toward the ladder, and to let him understand that this is what you've been doing to your muscles. You've been mentally jerking your muscles around. Then I'll talk to him about the rule: no emotional reaction permitted on missed shots. And then we'll get into the transference technique, and I'll include the little thing where this player and I will look at the other end of this imaginary stranger making and misses shots, and to produce that neutral effect that we want on missed shots. And that's what I'll talk to him about. Your response now is going to be neutral, and you're simply going to say, that's not like me, if I happen to miss one. Then I'll talk about anchoring successes, that when you make a shot, I want you to say, that's like me, or you can say yes, with some emotion. I'll let the player choose that one. They can either go with that's like me or yes. Most of them choose that's like me, but it doesn't matter. Whatever the kid feels comfortable with, and that matters. All right, now we're going to go pick up a basketball. I'm going to go into the basket, and and we're going to start shooting. Now we're going to incorporate the rangefinder shot warm-up. You will find that in our other videos, Secret to Shooting Your Best Every Day, and you absolutely must go to this video if you haven't done it, and if you have done it, you need to go back to it and review it, because that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put him on this rangefinder shot warm-up that you find in that video. Again, Secret to Shooting Your Best Every Day. All right, and so what we do is we start out 3 feet from the basket, and you'll see all this stuff. I'm not going to go in great detail here because it's in the other video, but we'll start out 3 feet away, where a kid has to make a minimum of 16 out of 20 shots. We start at 3 feet away because everybody can make a 3-foot shot. I want to guarantee this kid starts successfully. And again, I'm the monitor now. Okay, I'm going to monitor those techniques and ideas that we've been through here and everything. And so as that player shoots, I'm looking for any type of any type of reaction to, a negative reaction, a body gesture, a drop in the head, muttering something to himself. And that's why I'll short circuit him right away. And I said, no, our technique is that's not like me. And again, you're not owning misses, so I'm the monitor of those kinds of things. And then we'll just keep working our way out. Again, I'm not going to go into detail on this because it's another video, but we gradually work our way out, and the kid just has lots of successes. And I might mention, what's pretty interesting is that I've used this rangefinder shot warm-up for, 25, 30 years, whatever it is, and in that period of time, I have not had one of my players has not been in a shooting slump. So by using this shot warm-up, and you want to use this shot warm-up with any kid like that, they stay out of the slump. They never get into a slump. And so I think that's really important for you to know. It's a very powerful, positive way to start your day successfully by using this rangefinder shot warm-up. All right, so kind of in a nutshell, that's that's what we're looking at right there as far as taking a kid out of a shooting slump. It's a great technique, and I can tell you right now that you're going to love it, and you're going to feel like you have a real weapon now that when a kid comes to you and says, "Coach, I need some help with my shot." I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, I'll put the email address up here. You can shoot me an email and I'll fire an answer back to you. And if it gets to something where we need to talk after you do the email thing, I can always send you my telephone number and we can talk as well. So thanks for being with us today, and hope you'll look forward to one of our future YouTube videos.